It's a really exciting time to be in artificial intelligence, the African continent. So you are in the right place, right, at the right time. AI on the continent has really been evolving and really building up over the last half decade or so, especially in the large push in these, many research areas that are connected with it as well. So not just in applications, but then also in core science that is building in. Why? There's been a lot, it's driven by many factors, one being grassroots AI, young people, open machine learning tools, open science, government, and private sectors getting into into the mix. But I wanted to highlight something on grassroots artificial intelligence. So one, I'm a co-founder of the Deep Learning Indaba, which aims to strengthen African machine learning through Africans becoming critical contributors, owners, and shapers of these advances that are being brought by AI. We started this in 2016, had our first meeting in 2017 at the University of Pretoria in Johannesburg, so about 300 participants on here. Moving then next year to Stellenbosch and still in South Africa with 600 participants. In 2019, we came to Nairobi with 600 other participants. And then because of COVID, we had to stop until now in August 2022, where we're in Tunis, really building up this community. And also what's interesting, and maybe we should share notes, for the Indaba in Tunis, we had 1,800 applications to be at that meeting, and we had to whittle it down to 400 attendees, and really creating a new type of AI meeting in the world, right? It's not just about innovating here in Africa, but then innovating in a way that then others can learn from. And the Deep Learning Indaba is just one of these organizations. I also wanted to talk about Data Science Africa, which really in this region of East and West Africa has been very influential as well. And with Data Science Africa, our sister organization, they are working on building up data science expertise. They run summer schools and workshops and solving problems within the African context. And it's been great also seeing how they build up and we work together. And there's many more. And you can look at the influence of these grassroots AI organizations, not from an African perspective, but from an international perspective of what they've meant. So as I said, you had the Deep Learning Indaba, you've got Data Science Africa, all around that 2015 to 2016 time showing up. But then what has happened on there, you have Black in AI for especially Africans in the diaspora, women in NLP, women in machine learning, women in machine learning data science. As we now move forward, we can then see how that has then accelerated AI in building up other communities. So, for example, you can look at things like Americas and NLP. I don't see Kipu here. Kipu is a Indaba-like event that happens in South America. So that's a very important thing because this has become now the language in the AI community. Like, oh, we're also building up an Indaba-like community in our continent. The same, there's now communities in Southeast Asia, in Eastern Europe as well. I also have a co-founder of Masakani, which then spun off from the Indaba, but then specifically looking at African languages. And through that, you see then America's NLP showing up, where now in South America, they're also building up same types of communities to do research together, even if it's not connected to any major organization, meaning you're doing distributed research and you're not limited within those space. And now you see other ones like Sisonke Biotech who are now looking at machine learning in health. So this is, as I said, very exciting time. You are in the right place. And we then are seeing emergence of now within governments, within the private sector, a major movement in putting in more and more investments into using artificial intelligence within their spaces. And how then, one of the questions you ask us of, how then does a lot of what the profits that come from here feed back into increasing R&D spend per capita within the continent? And we're hopefully, as through the connections we're going to make here, we'll also find ways to then come up with those things. Given this, maybe to bookend it at this time before Yunyao comes along, is that now ICLR, which is probably in the top 3, AI conferences in the world, will be hosted in Kigali in 2023. Right, so this is a major milestone for us, as now saying people then are also coming here to have the major meetings, but then also not just have the meeting here as an exotic place, but then also with the community being active participants and shapers of how these technologies are actually developing. And I really do hope to welcome you to Kigali as well. I'm South African, but I'm African and moving around as much as I can. So with that, I'll hand it over to Yunyao for the next part.
So I'm going to show you a few slides, kind of illustrate a few major trends that we have observed in the past few years. First, you see accelerating investment from the private sectors in AI. So if you look at 2021, it's almost double the investment than 2020. The same from the government sector. So NSF in 2020 investing $140 million. The next year, the investment increased even more to 220. So build, around the United States, different AI institute involved large network of both, a public institute as well as some of the private companies. And if we look at the employment of newer PhD in AI area, so you can see, the number of PhDs grow significantly over the years. But if you look at the trend, right, the employment, the number of PhD goes to academia, stay almost the same, it increased slightly, but you can see, from the private sector, the increase is very, very significant. This basically indicates two things. One is AI is very important for business. The second is that a lot of innovation is now done in the private sector in addition to academia. So a lot of the newest AI advancements, such as GPT-3, such as, like the large language model, foundational model, like BERT and other kind, all come from industry, a lot of the time through close collaboration with academia as well. So this is a very interesting trend. And then another thing very important, right? As AI become everywhere, we need to be aware of the impact of AI from a lot of perspectives. So one important thing, if you look at the number of AI-related bills in the United States, it increased a lot over the years. And last year, there were over 130 bills. So not all of them passed, but the main key point is now people are paying attention to policy, how to regulate AI in a way so that AI brings all the benefits to our society without creating a lot of additional unintended consequences. So this is also echo our session. So we're going to have an open speech by Asha. She's going to talk about AI in general and we'll also talk about some specific work she has done related to AI for social good, followed by Simone. So he recently joined a billion-dollar unicorn startup on using AI for synthetic biology. So he's going to share some of his work there. And then Ernest will talk about his work in AI for social good again. And lastly, Margaret going to give us a cautionary tale. So as AI become increasingly important, how do we keep ethics in mind? So she prepared a very nice talk that is the focus on general audience to tell you, what do you think about ethics in AI, how to apply the thought in the entire development process of AI life cycle.